Hi, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you are doing well. Lana Del Rey, still mad, still not that happy. You guys may remember I did a video on this channel not too long ago about a pretty lengthy Instagram post that she dropped 6 days ago now, where she questioned the culture about the types of themes in her music and whether or not she could go back to writing about those themes without being cast off as someone who is setting women back 100 years. I said in my video, in reaction to this, that I have thought that criticisms that went that far were maybe a little too heavy-handed, went a little too hard. I get that some of the themes of Lana's music are a little regressive in terms of gender politics, but as she stated in this post, I think there is room for interpretation. Maybe she just writes about these types of themes. She writes about these types of stories. They are negative to her. These are not positive experiences, and they just happen to be wrapped in glamorous music because she considers herself to be a glamorous person. It is what it is. I think there's room for reading it that way. What seemed a bit confusing, and there were some people who took issue with my read on this in my original video, was Lana saying, and I quote in this post, "I am not a feminist." I just took that as her straight saying that she's not a feminist, as the sentence doesn't really make sense if she's saying the opposite. As she says that she is not a feminist, but there has to be room in feminism for women who look and act like her. Why would she claim feminism and then say there's not room for people like her in feminism? Anyone who is a feminist knows that's not how feminism works. These days, there's a real multiplicity to feminism. It comes in so many different sects, and undoubtedly, there are tons of women in Lana's audience who identify with her stories, who identify with the glamorous aesthetics of her music, but also consider themselves feminists too. So if they identify with you, even on like a minimal level, and they consider themselves feminists, how can you also claim there's not room for people like that in the movement, that there isn't space for them, that they're not being considered? So no, with this post, I don't think Lana is saying she is a feminist. In fact, I think she exposed herself a little bit further here in the follow-up post, because of course there was another Instagram post where she predicted a third wave of feminism. So let me clarify my point here in terms of Lana Del Rey and feminism. I don't think Lana Del Rey is an anti-feminist. I don't think she hates feminists. Ultimately, I think she would just wish that more harsh feminist writers would just kind of leave her stuff alone, be more charitable in their critiques. I think that for the most part, she is just ambivalent toward feminism, which if she wants to be, she has the right to be. It's not really my place as a guy to tell Lana whether or not she should be a feminist or identify as a feminist. I mean, even the way she talks about hyper liberals in this post leads me to believe she doesn't care that much for leftist politics in general, which again is fine. Figured she might have had that point of view anyway. I'm not going to try to use this video to force that on her or anybody. But look, I digress, because the point of this video is mostly to ingest this video, because the first post and the second post apparently were not enough. Now, personally, I will say, as someone who talks on camera all the time, every day, puts quite a bit of thought into the things that I say, this may not, in fact, be the best move. If you cannot clearly communicate yourself and your ideas without putting yourself in hot water in text, rambling on camera may ignite things even further. While ultimately, I think it's great that Lana is so willing to share her feelings and her ideas and her thoughts and allow us to kind of go back and forth on them. I would hate for her to put herself in a position where she's just not in the best light. And I feel like those two previous posts have already done that. And I just don't want this video to dig the hole even deeper, but I guess we will see.
Hey. So I don't want to beat a dead horse, and I don't want to, go on and on about this post thing, but I just want to remind you that in that post, my one and only personal declaration I've ever made.
I'm sorry, especially right now with how she's got the She's got the tongue in the lip. This is the bitterness. You could feel the bitterness just pouring through the screen. I've done this one personal post, and all of you fucked it up. You couldn't read it the way I wanted you to read it, could you? You had to go crazy with it. You had to say it was a racist thing because most of the artists that I brought up were of color and it was a little tone deaf, but you had to do it, didn't you? Yeah, already this is not the best look, because even to people who have been supporting Lana through these posts and everything, this is already instantaneously, less than 30 seconds in, this is coming off so passive aggressive right now. It's like a massive amount of passive aggression, and I'm just wondering if that's going to paint the entirety of this video.
Thanks for being so warm and welcoming. Was about the need for fragility in the feminist movement. It's going to be important. And when I mentioned women who look like me, I didn't mean white like me. I mean the kind of women who, other people might not believe because they think, oh, well, look at her. She fucking deserves it or whatever.
Wait, time. I'm hoping she doesn't say something that clarifies the confusion that I'm having here immediately after this, but still, while I understand that feminism is a very large movement, huge, gigantic, in which there is a lot of disagreement. There's a lot of infighting. There's a lot of ideological struggle as to what feminism should be, as to what its goals are, what it should be trying to fight for. But very concretely, across the board, and this is like one of the biggest notes of consistency in feminism today, and that's like, believe women. Believe women. When they tell you that they've been assaulted or sexually abused, believe them. I can't think of a section of feminism that is really loudly saying, she deserved it because of what she was wearing. Is Lana Del Rey under the impression that just the feminist movement is full of these just tough, butch, macho women that are just like, look at that lipstick wearing whore. She deserved being assaulted like that because she dresses that way. I don't know what she's getting at.
There's a lot of people like that, and I just think it's sad that the women I mentioned about, whether they sing about dancing for money or whatever, the same stuff, by the way, that I've been singing about and chronicling for 13 years. That's why I'm in that echelon. Yes, they are my friends and peers and contemporaries. The difference is when I get on the pole, people call me a whore. But when Twigs gets on the pole, it's art. So
Wait, what? She really wants to feel like she's the odd woman out here, and I don't know why. I don't recall anybody seeing Lana's pole video and saying, whore! And meanwhile, look at FKA Twigs and her pole work and the way she's worked that into her art and thinking, oh yes, this is the best, this is the greatest. Now, in FKA Twigs' defense, which I think Lana is kind of, doing a bit of an oversight here, she did a very artsy, extravagant, like larger-than-life type of pole routine, whereas, when you were doing that, you were kind of more playing up this character that you work into your music, which is fine. It's two different ways of telling a story and engaging with art, but Twigs is a professional dancer, and she, approached her pole thing in a very different way than you did. If people interpret what you did on the pole and what she did on the pole in different ways, it's because they're very different in terms of aesthetic and application.
I'm reminded constantly by my friends that lyrically there are layers and complicated psychological, factors that play into some of my songwriting. But I just want to say, the culture is super sick right now, and the fact that they want to turn my posts, my advocacy for fragility into a race war, it's really bad. It's actually really bad.
Are you saying that people are unhappy with your pole dancing and your music because you display and you project fragility, whereas FKA Twigs doesn't? Like, what is not fragile about the way FKA Twigs presents herself in her music? She literally did a music video where she's quite literally being manhandled in the music video, fingers in the mouth and just like, arms all over her and stuff. Like, I mean, I don't know if she could portray herself as being more fragile than that. I mean, sure, it's open to interpretation, but it's not exactly like I'm going to show myself as tough in this video type of display. I don't get where you're not seeing the fragility in the music of these other artists. So when you single out so many artists, female artists of color, it's just very odd.
Especially when in that same declaration, I was talking again about the idea of how important it is to make reparations to the Navajo community because they touched me so much in my youth. And, that I believe in personal reparations because it's the right thing to do. And, I think what's really sad is, like, as a personal advocate, as a girl's girl, as somebody who wants the best for every culture, when Marianne Williamson was talking about reparations to the black community that never got done during the emancipation period. That was why I liked her, because I always felt that way. So I just want to say to all of the other women out there who are like me, good girls, good intentioned, who get fucked up the ass constantly by the culture just because you say what you really mean. I'm with you. And I feel for you.
You don't think that Ariana has music where she's trying to speak to well-intentioned women who are treated like shit? You don't think Beyonce does music where she's trying to speak to women who have been treated like shit despite being well-intentioned too? Ultimately, I get it if Lana feels like she's not getting her flowers. I understand that. But she seems less focused on that and more focused on, here are these other women who are getting something I'm not getting. And why am I not getting that? And that's just really concerning. And that's the confusing part. It's the infatuation and the angle at which she's approaching this. If this were simply about, hey, could you guys just take my music for what it is? And I just happen to be a glamorous person who sings about dark themes and just accept that without thinking that I'm trying to tell women to date abusive guys. If that's all she wanted to say, I don't think this would be an issue.
I'm super strong, you can call me whatever, I'm sorry that, I didn't add one 100% Caucasian person into the mix of the women that I admire, but, it really says more about you than it does about me. And I think that what's interesting is the very first time I decide to tell you anything about my life or the fact that I'm writing books that chronicle that fragility.
Okay, but nobody's mad about you writing books. Nobody's mad about you sharing whatever about your life. The passive aggression is just like coming on strong again. It's like she's trying to guilt people into thinking, well, I shouldn't have reacted so harshly. I should feel bad now because your post was kind of weird and tone deaf and didn't make a whole lot of sense and was riddled with grammatical errors. But I guess it's like it's my fault. Which, granted, in my original video, I wasn't even one of those people that took issue with kind of the racial angle that a lot of people have. Not to say that there isn't maybe a thing there, but I personally took Lana at face and said, okay, I think she probably has respect for artists of color across the board. But now that I've read some of the takes that people have had reacting specifically to that element of your post, yeah, it is a little weird in tone.
But there are women out there like me who have so much to give and, don't quite get to the place spiritually or karmically where they're supposed to be because there are other women who hate them and try and take them down, whether in my case it's certain alternative singers or, malintended journalists.
Again, I'm at a loss here as to who she has in mind and who she thinks her enemies are and why she sees them as having so much power and influence that they can stop her. And she needs to say something about it to prevent it from happening. And again, these people being ill-intentioned journalists who are hating Lana and taking Lana down and trying to ruin Lana's career. I mean, maybe some people think that I'm trying to do that personally. I'm not. I loved Lana's last record, and I hope her next record is great, truly and honestly. And I hope it sells as many copies as her first goddamn album. But having said that, who are these journalists that are so huge and so influential? They're out to destroy you. Who are these alt singers? I feel like she's just coming off a bit paranoid here. You know, even if there are journalists who hate you, even if there are alt singers who think your femininity or your fragility or whatever is trash, who cares what they think? Who cares what they say? I said in my last video, fuck what critics think about your music. Make the music you want to make. Make the music your fans want to hear. While I think critics and criticism are great and important and certainly can be constructive and for the betterment of the music community, you can go without it if you want to.
You know, men who hate women, you know, but I'm not the enemy, and I'm definitely not racist, so don't get it twisted. Nobody gets to...
I don't think Lana is racist, but I just think that the way she's trying to dispel that attack here, it's most likely not going to switch the minds of the people who have already decided that that's the case based on what you had said originally.
Tell your story except for you, and that's what I'm going to do in the next couple of books. So God bless, and yeah, fuck off if you don't like the post.
Okay. I wish Lana luck on the books. I hope the new album is great, but I just don't think this video puts what you were saying in the best light. At the end of the day, I only think Lana's most hardcore fans are going to take away from this what she wants them to take away, because still what she's saying here is coming off very confusing. She doesn't really clarify the points of her previous posts that didn't make sense or weren't the best looks when she does reiterate them. And now many of those points are coming off with a heaping helping of passive aggression on the side, which is, again, also not the best of looks. Yeah, those are my thoughts on this. And I think I will just leave it at that, because at this point I have said enough. Anthony Fantano, over here next to my head, is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Lana Del Rey, forever.